If you're making money at 19, there's a high chance you'll lose it. Not because you're lazy, not because you're unintelligent, but because you made a decision maybe without even knowing it that locked you into the wrong game. And here's the thing that nobody tells you at 19. There are only two games being played out there. One is called profit, the other is called value, and which one you're playing right now is controlling your entire future. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which game you chose, and more importantly, you'll know how to switch if you've been playing the wrong one. Welcome to The Right Mindset. If this is your first time here, this channel is built for people who are done with surface-level advice and ready to think differently about success, money, and who they're becoming. Hit subscribe. We're just getting started. Now, let's talk about a decision that most people don't even realize they've made. Here's something I want you to be brutally honest about. When you imagine yourself successful, what does it look like? Is it a number in your bank account? Is it a car? Is it other people looking at you and thinking, he's made it? Or is it something quieter than that, a feeling that you actually know what you're doing, that you've built something real? That when people need something done, your name is the one that comes up. Because those two visions are not the same thing, and which one lives in your head will determine every decision you make for the next 10 years. At 19, you don't lack ambition. Nobody your age lacks ambition. What most people your age lack is direction. And when ambition has no direction, it defaults to the most visible thing available, which, in 2026, is the appearance of success. Social media has made this worse than it's ever been. You can now watch someone your age in a rented car, in a rented house, with a rented lifestyle, and believe that profit is the goal, that the number is the point, that if the money is coming in, you're winning. But let me ask you something. Are you trying to look successful, or are you actually trying to become valuable? That question is not rhetorical. I need you to sit with it, because your answer is the entire video. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Tom. Tom was 19, bright, faster with a calculator than most people twice his age. He got into resale, buying electronics cheap and flipping them for a margin. Within 3 months, he was making more money than his father made in 6. He was proud. His friends were impressed. His family started asking him for favors, and that felt like winning. So he scaled. He moved faster. He stopped sleeping properly because opportunity doesn't wait, right? He took risks he didn't fully understand because the first few risks had paid off. He started measuring everything in immediate return. Every decision passed through one filter. How much will this make me? 6 months in, he had a cash flow problem. A supplier he'd trusted burned him. The market shifted. He had inventory he couldn't move and debts he hadn't planned for. And here is where it got dark, not because he had no money, but because he had no foundation. He had no skill that someone would pay for regardless of the market. He had no reputation built on delivering something real. He had no relationships that weren't transactional. He had profit, and then he didn't. And when the profit disappeared, nothing was left. Now, I want to be careful here because Tom's story is not a story about failure. It's a story about what happens when you build on sand. Profit is real, profit is necessary, profit pays rent, but profit that isn't built on top of value is one bad month away from collapse. Think about the rhythm of what happened to him. First win, dopamine. Second win, confidence. Third win, overconfidence. Then confusion, then collapse. That is not bad luck. That is the structure of the profit-first trap. It rewards you early, then it punishes you for believing it. And the dangerous part. From the outside, the first 3 stages look identical, whether you're building something real or building on air. The crash is the only thing that separates them. Most people who are chasing profit right now are somewhere between stage 2 and stage 3. They're still winning. And that winning is the most dangerous thing in the world, because it feels like confirmation that the path is right. Let me say something that might be uncomfortable. If your income disappeared tomorrow, not reduced, gone, what would you still have? What skill would you still hold? What reputation would still carry your name? What problem would you still know how to solve? If the honest answer is not much, then you're not building, you're chasing. And chasing is exhausting because the thing you're chasing never stops moving. That's the profit trap. And Tom didn't escape it by making more money. He escaped it by asking a completely different question. Now here's what I want you to do. If this video is making you think, if something I said in the last few minutes landed differently than you expected, share this with someone who is 19 right now and confused about money. Not because they need a lecture, but because this is exactly the moment in life where the right idea, heard at the right time, changes everything. All right, let's keep going. Wait, I need to stop for a second. Because this isn't actually about money, I know it seems like it is. The numbers, the income, the profit trap, all of it sounds like a financial conversation, but it's not. It never was. This is about identity. The reason some people escape the profit trap and others don't isn't intelligence. It isn't even opportunity. It's about who they believe they are. Tom didn't lose because of a bad supplier. He lost because somewhere deep down, he believed he was a person who made money, not a person who solved problems. And when the money stopped, he had no identity to stand on. That's the real conversation. And it changes everything that comes next. Now let me tell you about someone I'll call Ray. Ray was also 19. She was not making more than her parents. She was not impressing her friends. She was spending her weekends learning a skill specifically, how to write copy that convinced people to take action online. She was doing it for free at first, for small businesses in her city that couldn't afford an agency. She was getting feedback, failing, improving, and getting better. Nobody was celebrating Ray at month 3. Nobody was asking her for favors at month 6. She wasn't posting results because she didn't have results to post yet. Just work, just reps, just the quiet accumulation of understanding. Then something changed, not dramatically. Not overnight, it was more like the ground became solid beneath her. She started to notice that she could walk into almost any business conversation and see the problem before anyone else named it. She could diagnose why a product wasn't selling. She could look at a message and know immediately why it wasn't converting. That instinct, that specific, repeatable capability, that was value. And value, unlike profit, doesn't disappear when the market shifts. By month 12, she had 2 paying clients. By month 18, she had a waiting list. And here's what's important. She wasn't richer than Tom at month 6. Tom looked like he was winning at month 6. But Ray was building something Tom didn't have: compounding. Compounding is not just a financial concept. It is the core mechanic of value creation. Every skill you build makes the next skill easier to learn. Every problem you solve makes the next problem easier to understand. Every relationship you earn through real delivery makes the next opportunity more accessible. Value compounds. Profit without value does not. And here's the contrast that matters. Ray had doubt. Real, sustained, uncomfortable doubt. There were months where she questioned whether she was wasting her time, whether the people making quick money had figured something out that she hadn't, whether slow and steady was just a story people told themselves to feel better about not winning yet. But she kept going, not because she was certain, but because she had decided at the very start that she was building a person, not just an income. And that decision is the whole game. Now I want to ask you something directly. When you're making decisions right now about your time, your skills, what you learn, who you spend your time with, are those decisions building a person? Or are they building a transaction? Because transactions expire, people compound. Let me bring something back that I said earlier because I promised I would. Remember Tom? After the collapse, he did something that most people don't do. He stopped. He actually stopped and asked, "What do I know how to do? Not what have I done, but what do I know how to do?" And the answer was almost nothing that didn't depend on a specific market condition working in his favor. So he started again, slower, less visible, more intentional. He picked a skill, logistics operations, and he went deep. It took him 8 months to start seeing return on that investment. But when he did, the return didn't disappear when the market shifted. Because he wasn't selling a product anymore, he was being a solution, profit chaser to value builder, same person, different decision. That transition is available to everyone in this room. So how do you actually make this shift? Not philosophically, practically. Here is the framework I want you to carry out of this video. I call it the value loop. 4 steps, repeatable forever. Step 1, learn not casually, not passively, deliberately. Pick one domain, one problem space that people will always need solved, and go deep. Read the books that practitioners read, not the summaries. Watch the tutorials that assume you already know the basics. Put yourself in rooms, online and offline, where the standard is higher than yours. Learn until you're slightly embarrassed by how little you knew 6 months ago. That embarrassment is growth. Step 2, build. Take what you're learning and make something with it. This is where most people stall because building feels risky. What if it's not good enough? But nothing compounds until it exists. Build something imperfect, show it, get feedback. The market will tell you things that no course ever will. Step 3, deliver. Deliver your capability to a real person with a real problem. Not a theoretical client, not a hypothetical project. A real human being who has a gap and needs it closed. Deliver with more care than the job requires. Go further than expected. Because your reputation is built in the gap between what was promised and what was actually given. Every delivery is a deposit into an account that pays dividends for years. Step 4, repeat. Not the same loop, a bigger loop. Take what you learned from delivering, let it inform a deeper level of learning, build something more sophisticated, deliver at a higher level. Repeat. Every rotation of this loop increases your floor the minimum you're capable of, and your ceiling becomes something you couldn't have imagined at the start. This is not glamorous. This is not the content that gets shared for the lifestyle, but it is the actual architecture of every person you look at and think, how are they so far ahead? They ran the loop more times than you've seen, and they started before anyone was watching. Here is the line I want you to remember. Profit is not something you chase. It is something that follows value. Read that again. Because the inversion is everything. The moment you stop asking how do I make money and start asking how do I become genuinely useful, the whole equation changes. Money starts moving toward you instead of away from you. Opportunities find you instead of you exhausting yourself finding them. People refer you before you even ask. That is not magic. That is the natural consequence of compounding value in a world full of people chasing profit. I want to say something to you directly. If you're still here, if you watched this far, you are not average. I mean that. Most people click off. Most people want the shortcut, not the understanding. The fact that you stayed means something about how you think. And how you think is the only real asset you have at 19. The right mindset is not a feeling. It is a decision you make about who you're becoming, and then you make it again every morning when it would be easier not to. Here's the final contrast I want to leave you with. 2 people start at 19. One spends the next 5 years chasing profit. The other spends the next 5 years building value. At year 1, the profit chaser looks like they're winning. At year 2, they still might be ahead. But by year 5, and certainly by year 10, the value builder is not just ahead. They are in a different conversation entirely, because they became someone money couldn't ignore. That's not poetic, that's math. So here's my question to you, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments right now. Value or profit? Which one have you been playing? Type it. V or P, because your answer is your starting point, not your verdict. And if this video shifted something in how you think, even slightly, do something with that shift. Share this video with someone in your life who is 19 and confused, not because they need to be corrected, but because you might be the reason they make a better decision at the exact moment it matters most. That's how mindset spreads, person to person, one right idea at a time. Subscribe to The Right Mindset if you want more of this, not tips, not hacks, not tricks thinking. Real thinking applied to real decisions by real people trying to build something that lasts. That's what we do here, and I'll see you in the next one.